The Bible even says that blasphemy against God is the only thing you can do to not earn God's favor, to not get into heaven. You put yourself or you put something else in front of God. And I started to realize worshiping a human as God seems blasphemous to God. Christianity is not monotheistic. It's about an idol. It's about worshiping Jesus.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back. My name's Natural Love, and for those of you that are new to the channel, I'm a new revert. I like to share my revert journey here and just like some real nice things to share with you regarding Islam. I came across this video, I have watched it. I want to watch it again with you, react to it with you. I feel it raises some really important questions and questions that are asked by many non-Muslims and people that are just intrigued or have their own opinions about Islam. And I like the way he kind of touches upon different religions. And yeah, for me, coming to Islam, I had a lot of questions beforehand, and I feel there's a lot of things that you hear that many people kind of uses that to generalize Muslims, so to speak. Now, this guy, he has read many religious books, including the Bible and the Quran, and I like the way he kind of breaks down religion. It's an amazing video. I hope you do enjoy it, and what I'm wanting here is to have healthy discussion. Yeah, I think it's really good way of sharing some really interesting facts and things, you know. Come on, let's listen. I have to say that this has been shared by another channel. I like the way that they've done this video. I'll pop the channel name here, but I like the way that they've done this video with all, because he's got many videos, you see. He's got the one where he reads the Bible, he's got the one where he reads the Quran and many other religious books. But then he talks on a daily, like not on a daily basis, he posts regular content, you know, so he's kind of gathered all of that together, which I really like.
Prostation. Page 279. Alif Lam Mim. The revelation of the book, of which there is no doubt, is from the Lord of the universe. Did they say he has invented himself, Muhammad? Surely it is the truth from your Lord that you may forewarn a people none has warned before you, and they may be rightly guided. All Muhammad was done was true. Muhammad was just warning. Muhammad was just warning.
In a video circulating on YouTube, a man does something out of the ordinary. This man, Grayson Brock, an American content creator, has made waves in the online world with his exceptional content. What he did this time isn't something typical. It's a journey that might transform his life in the future. The video on his YouTube channel documents his remarkable feat, reading an entire Holy Scripture in one sitting.
I forgot to mention as well that he read the Quran in one sitting. He read the Bible in one sitting. He's read all the religious books that he's read in one sitting, which makes it so interesting. And it means as well that he's literally processing and going through the entire thing in one go, which is something I didn't mention, so I had to pause it there.
Might transform his life in the future. The video on his YouTube channel documents his remarkable feat, reading an entire Holy Scripture in one sitting. This is not an easy task, as not everyone can accomplish it. However, what truly grabbed the public's attention was his decision to read the Quran in one go. In total, he spent 18 hours completing his reading. Tirelessly, he marked significant points on his body to track his progress and the parts that held special meaning to him during his reading of the Quran. After 18 long hours, Grayson finally completed his mission. From his reading of the Quran, he distilled 3 key insights that were profoundly meaningful to him. First, the importance of reverence and obedience to God without associating any partners with him. Second, the necessity of self-restraint from worldly desires and living in accordance with divine guidance. Third, the duty and virtue of being good to one's parents, as honoring one's parents is a core tenet of religious teachings.
I wrote these like 15 minutes ago because I got the themes of the book. The first one being to fear God. That is the first theme of this book. It is essentially having a deep respect for God. Number 2, don't follow your desires. This is a verse from the Quran. Happy shall be he that keeps himself pure. So don't just follow your desires, because following your desires might lead you to sin. And sinning is when you go against yourself. That's what sinning is. That's what the Quran says sinning is.
I love the way he says sinning is going against yourself. And I love that he takes key points of what he has learned or taken in from his readings. Yeah.
Is when you go against yourself.
And of course, to fear God, you know, fear Allah.
Desires, because following your desires might lead you to sin. And sinning is when you go against yourself. That's what sinning is. That's what the Quran says sinning is. And lastly, this is from the Quran. Be kind to your parents.
Even though he's a Christian, Grayson has a penchant for venturing into uncharted territories without hesitating to step out of his comfort zone. Initially, he harbored unfavorable biases about Islam, influenced by media portrayals and his social milieu. During his Quranic reading, he anticipated.
And this is something I think many people can understand and relate to. That a lot of people perceive Islam and Muslims a certain way because of media, social media, headlines. You know, much of what people gather about Islam or Muslims is from headlines and media rather than from Muslims themselves or the Quran itself, you know. And I don't think it's wrong to have questions. I think what is wrong is when you're not willing to investigate something yourself, when you're merely basing things off assumptions or misunderstanding, or just pure not wanting to not actually wanting to understand and just having your own narrative or what has been spoon-fed to you from headlines and media. I think what is important is being able to investigate things honestly and taking the time to understand. One thing I always encourage is don't let social media teach you what a religion is or anything about a religion. You need to go to source. You need to read the source yourself. Find out yourself. You see, many Christians have never read the Quran and many Muslims have never read the Bible, you know. I'm someone in a position that's read both now, you know. I can actually like kind of contrast, and if it's contrast, I can. This is why, you know, for me, this is why I chose Islam. This is why I am where I am today. I've been someone that grew up as a Christian, not just a Christian, a 7-day Adventist. So I've been on quite a few. It's like I have 7-day Adventist. I think if you're new to the channel, just to give you clarification is, or just to give you insight, they are Christians, but they worship on a Saturday. Friday to Saturday sundown is Sabbath. So it's like only praising God, only worshiping God, not watching TV, not being on social media. Back then when I was young, there was no social media, but just praising and worshiping God, right? And yeah, very, very similar views to Jews. If I'm being real, yeah, very similar views to Jews, and yeah, worship on a Saturday. There's a lot more to it, obviously. Also, I don't eat pork. You know, we never ate pork. Don't eat fish with no scales. Don't eat shellfish. You're not supposed to drink alcohol. You know, you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. And in fact, that is actually how Christians, the same thing that Christians are supposed to follow as well, is not having sex before marriage. There's loads of things. You're not really supposed to drink alcohol. You know, so yeah, I think. Yeah, so I was raised a Christian. Yeah, 7-day Adventist. I was raised a Christian. After being a 7-day Adventist, I, you know, was like going to a regular Christian church. So like I've not done it all, but I'm someone that can look at different perspectives, if that makes sense. You know, know a little bit about Jewish, you know, Judaism as well, and then I am now a Muslim. I've read the Quran, I've read the Bible. So like I can kind of compare certain things or take something from something and understand things, if that makes sense. But I think it's very important I always wanted to learn about monks and Buddhism as well. Like, I think it's very important to get to know different religions, even when you are in a religion, so you can understand the differences between us. And one thing I always say as well, um, I think everyone is striving for a similar thing, which is to praise God, yeah, to praise Allah, or to believe that there's one God, or that there's a higher being, a higher power, and we didn't arrive here on a speck of dust. We sort of share some similar values, good versus evil, right from wrong.
Even though he's a Christian, Grayson has a penchant for venturing into uncharted territories without hesitating to step out of his comfort zone. Initially, he harbored unfavorable biases about Islam, influenced by media portrayals and his social milieu. During his Quranic reading, he anticipated stumbling upon verses related to terrorism and violence. However, he was taken aback by what he encountered. Instead, he unearthed the beauty inherent within the Quran, going as far as describing it as the most serene thing he had ever encountered.
I read the entire Quran in one sitting as a white boy, Christian, and I was shocked because, and I can prove that I read the whole thing because you can see the video right there, but I was shocked because I thought it was going to be like really evil and about, I don't know, terrorism, and it was actually amazing. And the most peaceful thing after finishing, I was just like, wow. I feel like I've had some questions answered about life. It literally says, ward off evil with good. Where did this notion come from that people think Islam is very evil and aggressive and angry? Maybe it's because the news. I think it's because the news. Everything is from the news is fake. The news is fake. We gotta stop watching the news.
Although he had dedicated his life to studying the Bible, reading it in its
Sorry, I
entirety
have to stop
gave
it
him
there.
a fresh perspective.
I have to stop it there because I've said in previous videos I do not watch the news, and obviously you have certain news sources that come up on social media, or if you're on X and things like that. There's certain ways of gaining information about what is going on in the world, but I find the news to be very programming, and it's kind of sets an agenda. This is where I think a lot of negative views come in to play when it comes about Muslims. Even certain events that apparently happened and how they happened, not everything is the way that you're being told that these things happen. And a lot of things is to, I always say, conquer and divide. They want us to fight amongst ourselves. They want you hating each other. And, the news, for the most part, it kind of shapes and molds people to believe what they want us to believe for their own gain, if that makes sense. When I started reading the Quran, I did think it was going to be very difficult to read, obviously, because as well it's written in Arabic, and even though I have an English translated version, I felt like it was going to be a difficult read, but I found it to be just much different than I really thought. I found nothing but mercy, hope, guidance, forgiveness, gratitude, reflection. And that really surprised me. Yeah, I think this is another thing that I will mention as well, is translating Arabic into English or any other language is not as simple as many realize. Some things can get lost in translations. I know this because I interact with a lot of Arabic content on my other channel, and I have a lot of things translated. I'm always told that you wouldn't, unless you speak Arabic, you're not truly going to get the in-depth meaning of things. One of the Qurans that I have, I'll probably put a picture of it up here, it breaks things down, and it also has the actual meaning of, because this is one thing as well with the Bible, there's various versions, right? Because I know there's some argument with people thinking that the Quran has it doesn't have different versions. Let's make that clear. And obviously certain things were sent a little bit later. Certain things were sent later. I don't want to get into all of that. As I say, I'm learning myself. I'm a new Muslim. So some things I don't talk too much upon because I'm still learning. But the translations that I have, and then I have regular Qurans. I'm able to go and look, and also I listen to audio Qurans as well, and you can hear the kind of differences, and yeah, it's once you actually gain full understanding and you interpret things the correct way, what I'm trying to say is some people get a lot of misunderstandings and they run with it. They've not even translated the word correctly and they've run with it. I've seen it so many times. But yeah, listen, the Quran didn't answer every single question that I had overnight, but what it did do is challenge every assumption that I had, or any assumptions that I may have had or heard about. One thing I'll say is that context matters. Like, you wouldn't judge an entire book based off of one sentence that you've read, yeah, or read out of context. So you shouldn't judge like the entire Quran based off of a verse that you may have misread or misinterpreted or taken out of context.
The news is fake. We gotta stop watching the news.
Although he had dedicated his life to
True,
studying
man.
the Bible, reading it in its entirety gave him a fresh perspective. He was taken aback by the severe acts depicted in the Old Testament, which he found crazy. When he turned to the Quran, he noticed significant shared values between Islam and Christianity. The Quran's profound depth and intensity impressed him, despite its smaller size compared to the Bible. Conversely, Grayson felt that modern Christianity has strayed from its roots. This realization led him to contemplate Jesus' warning about a divided kingdom's inevitable downfall.
I just read the entire Bible and the entire Quran. When I read the Bible, I was surprised at how violent it was. I've been studying the Bible my whole life, but reading all the way through, like the Old Testament is crazy. And I also, reading the Quran made me realize that the values that Muslims share with Christians, or like that they do share values, like pretty much everything is the exact same. Islam and the Quran is just a much more to the point. It's 1/10 of the size of the Bible, so it's only 10%. Much more clear cut, as you can kind of tell, like in Arabic and Muslim culture, they're more strict, or they're just like, there's no bullshit, basically. They don't mess around with all this time, and you don't disrespect the Prophet Muhammad, and you don't disrespect Islam. Although Christianity feels like it's not really standing for much anymore, because now it's just like so loose and everywhere. And Jesus said, a kingdom divided will fall.
Additionally,
And you know what? That is just so true. Like, yeah, people may perceive Islam as really strict, and there's this and there's that, but I think for the most part, there's structure, and you know what you're doing, and there's nothing sweeter, yeah, than giving your all to Allah, and loving Allah, loving God, and understanding that He is your creator, and doing good in this world. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that the Quran is like a manual for life. That's what I call it. It's like a manual for life. And if you were to follow and abide by certain things in the Quran, that life for you will be a lot more pleasant, because it just lays out certain things for us to live a more beautiful life. Although we're in a society and a world right now where the dunya, where this world and like what this world gives you and what you can achieve, and the money and the status and the this and the that, a lot of more people would rather strive for that than striving for paradise, than striving for something more, yeah, that is far more rewarding than what you could ever have right now in this world at this time. And I think it's just so much guidance in there to make you a calmer individual, to make your life less chaotic, to not fall for social acceptance, or for the very mediocre things in this world. I don't want to talk too long. I've done a few videos. For me, my life is less chaotic. I am more disciplined. I take life more seriously, but enjoy life more, if that makes sense. But yeah, I feel like with the Bible and being a Christian, remember I've been a Christian, they teach you certain things that you're not supposed to be doing, and just like little guidance as well. But I feel like you said, Christians and Christianity can, for some, be quite loose. Not everyone. It's the same. Like, I just feel like it can be quite loose, and that certain things are forgotten about and just not followed. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much because I'm not here to slate one religion for another. I'm honestly not. What I'm trying to do here is make sure that people are able to respect all religions, okay? And to also understand that what you don't understand doesn't make it wrong. Don't fear the unknown. And if you want to know, read it. Read the Quran. You won't regret it.
Not really standing for much anymore because now it's just like so loose and everywhere. And Jesus said, a kingdom divided will fall.
Additionally, he reflected on the Bible's teaching that blasphemy against God is the only act that brings about God's wrath. In his view, this blasphemy occurs when someone places anything above God, which he regarded as a severe sin. He began to understand that worshiping a human being as God is the most blatant form of blasphemy. This realization made him more critical of the concept of divinity in Christianity. He saw that in practice, Christianity was no longer strictly monotheistic, but had shifted towards idolatry, with Jesus at its center. The commandment against idol worship is reiterated many times. Nevertheless, he observed that Christians still violate this commandment. They venerate statues and accept various widespread misconceptions.
The Bible even says that blasphemy against God is the only thing you can do to not earn God's favor, to not get into heaven. You put yourself or you put something else in front of God. And I started to realize worshiping a human as God seems blasphemous to God. Christianity is not monotheistic. It's about an idol. It's about worshiping Jesus. Worshiping Jesus, to me, it's blasphemous because you're really worshiping yourself. You're worshiping another human, thinking that you can be perfect like the human. That does not make sense. All I can say, guys, is monotheism makes sense. Monotheism is the only thing that makes sense. Monotheism is within this book. You can read it in the Old Testament. They warn, the entire Old Testament is warning God's people over and 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 over. The entire Old Testament, which is like 3/4 of the Bible. The entire Old Testament is do not put anything before God. Do not put any idols before God. Do not worship made idols. Don't do it. And they did it. They did it.
Crazy.
They're statues. Oh, there is lies out there. There is lies.
And let me just raise this point, and you probably know this already, but even when you walk into churches, you see outside of churches, you've got statues everywhere. In most churches, statues, glass stained windows, with Jesus and even Mary, all kinds of disciples, all kinds of people. And that to me is idol worship, is it not? Yeah, I think he's definitely cracked something there. This is the part where I was like, oh, you know what? You're right. No, for real. Pure idol worshiping. And you get that a lot even with Catholics as well. Yeah. And even the symbolism that they place behind certain things. Yeah. I think even down to like the pastor and the preacher and the way that people are towards vicars, pastors, preachers, the people that give the word. They put so much into those people, almost worshipping them like idols. That's from my experience. Whereas when you go to the mosque, so you go to the mosque, right? And we're all facing towards Allah. We're all facing towards God. We're all praying to God. Nobody's putting anybody higher up on a pedestal. I don't get that essence when I go to mosque or when I do anything in Islam that's in a religious setting. So yeah, and you won't see big statues, just like all kinds of, you just don't see that. No. Because even down to just loads of stuff, man. You did it, yeah. You're spot on.
The only thing that makes sense, monotheism is within this book. You can read it in the Old Testament. They warn, the entire Old Testament is warning God's people over and 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 over. The entire Old Testament, which is like 3/4 of the Bible. The entire Old Testament is do not put anything before God. Do not put any idols before God. Do not worship made idols. Don't do it. And they did it.
They did it! They're statues! Ah, there is lies out there. There is lies.
Additionally, he pointed out that it is commonly known Jesus spoke in Aramaic. He previously cited a prayer from the Bible where Jesus instructs his disciples how to pray to God. What struck him was the realization that Jesus himself prayed to God, and when suggesting that Jesus was not God.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the Christian prayer, and Jesus told his disciples how to pray. And it starts off with our Father. Jesus was worshiping God. And Jesus spoke Aramaic. You know how he said God, how you say God in Aramaic? Look it up. Allah. This just might be the only religion left. The only monotheistic religion left. Truly monotheistic. Monotheistic means following the one creator, one. Intuitively, everyone knows that there must be one. We must have come from one source, and that source is the truth. And that truth is God. That's the idea of God, is that it's the truth. The truth that you can go all the way back to. And now I'm realizing I've been lied to my entire life.
Well, that's the end of the video. I really appreciate you, if you've made it this far, just listening to this video. And I think he raises some amazing points. I love the way he articulates himself. I love that he sat and read the Quran in one sitting, the Bible in one sitting, and other religious books. And just that he does comparisons like this. We don't all have to agree, but we can all learn from listening. You know, life is about learning, and life is also about, and I have to use the word ignorance. We can't be ignorant in this world. It's very important to knowledge up. It's very important to learn. It's really important to research, and just not to be opinionated or not be sort of swayed just by hearsay, just by headlines, by media, or what other people think, or by others. And I think, you know, I feel like everyone should read the Quran, and everyone should get a clear understanding and insight before they then throw out one or two words that they've clung on to. Watching videos like this always reminds me of the importance of doing your own research, you know, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, or non-religious. It's very important to kind of like research or read other sources of information rather than taking on board what we hear from others, or what we hear from outside, or what we see being shared and reshared, what we see from social media. There is real value in reading something yourself and not basing your views on assumptions. Yeah, but I'm really glad that you've watched the video with me today. I really love him. I think he's absolutely amazing, and I'm going to continue to share videos that I come across like this, because like I said, I am learning. I'm still learning, and yeah, I just it's just a beautiful journey, you know. And I'm someone that I don't make assumptions. I'm not somebody that gets into like religious arguments and debates, you know. I'm a Muslim. I'm a proud Muslim, and I respect everyone in this world. That's how I am. That's just my nature. I see us all as human beings, all as humans, all as Allah's creations, all as God's creation. So therefore, I'm just striving to be a better version of myself, praising God every step of the way. Rabbi Zidni Ilma, my Lord, increase me in knowledge, because this is what we're wanting to do, is increase our knowledge. Thank you so much for watching today. Assalamu alaikum. Bye.